Is the LA Times going to become the next Fox News of newspapers? Well, that's what some people are wondering after the Times owner has been giving more voice to conservatives at the paper. Welcome to Newspeak, I'm Holly Kellum. Dr. Patrick Soon-Shiong made billions in the medical industry developing cancer drugs, selling as health startups, and building a series of health-related companies. But in 2018, he got into the media business. He bought the LA Times and the San Diego Union Tribune for a combined $500 million. While he divested of the Tribune last year, he is still very much the owner of the Times, and some of his recent decisions have put his ownership in the limelight. Most recently, he announced he was going to put conservative CNN contributor Scott Jennings on the paper's editorial board. This comes on top of him blocking the Times editorial board from publishing an endorsement of Kamala Harris before the 2024 election. He said he wanted the editorial board to instead lay out the pros and cons of each candidate and let the readers decide. He wrote that instead of adopting this path as suggested, the editorial board chose to remain silent, and I accepted their decision. 3 of the editorial board members resigned in protest, one of them telling the Columbia Journalism Review that she wanted to make it clear that I am not okay with us being silent. In dangerous times, honest people need to stand up. And that wasn't the end of the fallout. Over the next several days, almost 2,000 subscribers canceled their subscriptions in protest. While it was meant to send a message to Soon-Shiong, the union representing the LA Times staff warned that it was hurting LA Times journalists who didn't have anything to do with it. While his decisions may have offended some readers, Soon-Shiong says he wants to broaden the appeal of the paper so it doesn't just cater to liberals. His goal is to create an editorial board that reflects the diversity of viewpoints in America.
Where we need to have all voices, the right, the left, and the moderate, the center. And I think it's important because the editors are responsible of stories that are told, stories are not told. And we need views from both sides, and my goal is now to change the entire editorial board for that perspective.
He says he won't be firing the remaining staff, but he will be looking for people that bring a different perspective than the ones that left. So was this just a financial decision? Is he really just trying to broaden the appeal of the paper and get more subscribers? Well, the political landscape does seem to have shifted since 2020. While Kamala Harris clearly won California, Trump made significant gains since the 2020 race against Joe Biden. So there might be a financial incentive for him to do this, but he claims his real goal is to preserve democracy. The day after the 2024 presidential election, he tweeted that the American people have spoken and that the LA Times would take the lead in providing factual and balanced coverage as the country heals its division. Now, with all these changes, you may be wondering what Soon-Shiong's political leanings are. Is he a Democrat or a Republican? Somewhere in between? Well, according to Stat News, Soon-Shiong's political contributions have skewed heavily toward the Democratic Party, including $50,000 in donations to Hillary Clinton's 2016 campaign and joint fundraising committee. And after the death of George Floyd, he wrote an op-ed in which he described the Times' own shortcomings on diversity, both of its staff and the coverage of non-white communities. He wrote, "We have committed to hiring more reporters and editors of color and to building an organizational culture that truly values representation and equity. We will strive to retain, mentor, and promote journalists of color, and we will be transparent in this process." As the son of immigrants who fled China after World War II to live in South Africa, Soon-Shiong said he had first-hand experience with racism. Growing up under apartheid and being neither white nor black, he couldn't own property or vote. He wasn't allowed to attend white schools or go to white hospitals and had to carry an identity card. He told Spectrum News that his mission to find a cure to cancer is about equity.
Out in the hallway, there's a big poster, and it says, of all the forms of inequity, injustice in healthcare is the most egregious of all. It was a saying by Martin Luther King Jr. Is that the bedrock of your drive to find cures and treatments for people?
It is the bedrock. But it's not just a bedrock for the injustice of the poor. It's a bedrock for what I think we can actually uplift all of humanity.
Now, given that background, he seems like he would match the demographic of Los Angeles politically pretty well. But he didn't seem to pause when offered the opportunity to meet with Trump after he was elected in 2015. Afterward, he tweeted that Trump truly wants to advance health care for all. More recently, he has cheered on Trump's picks for the Food and Drug Administration, Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. And he retweeted RFK Jr.'s tweet thanking Trump for appointing him as Health and Human Services Secretary. He also frequently reposts clips of Scott Jennings, the conservative commentator on CNN, who, as I said, he recently offered a position to on the LA Times editorial board. So what are his political leanings? Well, probably like most of us, he doesn't fit neatly into a box. He seems to have values that align with both sides of the aisle, and as a businessman and entrepreneur, he knows he can't come out too strongly in favor of one or the other for fear of becoming a target. But it's clear he's taking the editorial board in a new direction, and it will be interesting to see how readers react. I predict that the newspaper is going to lose readers, but maybe it will also gain readers, especially if conservatives feel like their viewpoints are now being reflected in the paper. Now, I've got a big favor to ask of you. I recently joined the crowdfunding platform Locals, and one of the reasons I wanted to be on there was to future-proof my channel from being censored on YouTube. I haven't had any videos censored yet, knock on wood. But I know the day is coming because so many YouTubers I know have had their videos censored there. The problem is, Locals will only let me upload a certain amount of videos each month, and I've already hit my upload limit for this month. It says if I want to increase my limit, I have to have at least 50 followers. So if you would please follow me on Locals, there is no financial commitment required, and you would really be helping me out. Once again, I'm Kellum, and you're watching Newspeak.